Tonight we rewind the reels and unbutton the tunics. 10 Hollywood icons marched in uniform before any director shouted action, and their ribbon bars tell stories wilder than dialogue. We will weigh tin and ribbon, myth and memory, to see where Hollywood glossed over bullet holes and where it dared to leave them visible, matching on-screen glamour to the grit of genuine awards. Jimmy Stewart. The reluctant bomber ace, audiences knew Stewart as the all-shucks idealist of Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Off-camera, he battled the sane shy streak when war clouds massed. In 1941, he became the first major star to enter uniform, spurning studio pleas for safe publicity work. He earned pilot wings, then fought bureaucracy to reach Europe, eventually leading the 703rd Bomb Squadron through flak-lit skies. 20 missions later, he carried 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 4 Air Medals, a French Croix de Guerre, and burn-scored nerves. Years after victory, Hollywood handed him a flight suit for Strategic Air Command. Wardrobe copied his real rack almost stitch for stitch. Wings, oak leaf clusters, the Azure Distinguished Unit ribbon. The lone embellishment was a NATO service bar, created years after his discharge, added purely for color symmetry. Stewart chuckled. I'd trade that strip of cloth for the crewmates I left behind. On screen, he remained the gentle dreamer. In briefing rooms, he was already legend. Audie Murphy, the medal magnate. He arrived with a duffel heavier than any prop. America's most decorated combat soldier. 5'5" of quiet steel who earned the Medal of Honor before turning 21. In France, he leapt onto a flaming tank destroyer, held off an enemy company, and radioed artillery on their heads. His Eisenhower jacket eventually carried every U.S. Valor Award, plus French and Belgian crosses. So many badges, the fabric sagged. Universal cast him as himself into hell and back, yet costumers feared viewers would assume exaggeration. They deleted the Legion of Merit, trimmed foreign ribbons, and pressed new khaki where combat wool once crusted with mud. Premiere crowds gasped anyway. Murphy murmured, "If only the boys could borrow this tailoring." Later westerns armed him with revolvers, but critics still saw an infantryman's economy in every drawer. Offset, he refused stunt doubles, saying blanks were loud, but memory louder. His rack hid invisible weight, insomnia, and nights he slept on the floor because beds felt too soft for survivors. Clark Gable. The Gunner Prince. Dubbed the King of Hollywood, Gable enlisted after Carol Lombard died on a war bond flight. Rejecting a desk, he trained as an aerial gunner and filmed Combat America aboard B-17s. Flak shredded the waist compartment on his first sortie, killing an airman inches from his camera. His uniform bore the Air Medal and Distinguished Flying Cross, plus a ruptured duck lapel pin for early discharge. Scream wardrobe immortalized his officer look in Submarine Saga, Run Silent, Run Deep, decorating him with a silver star he never earned. He corrected designers once, then shrugged. He never sought extra pay, only permission to film fellow gunners, insisting America should see real sweat on handsome faces. Off-duty, he mailed cigars to widows of fallen crewmen, sealing each box with studio wax. Proof the king remembered subjects beyond the screen. David Niven, the gentleman commando. Press agents pictured him in tails, yet Niven left Hollywood the night Britain declared war, rejoining the Highland Light Infantry within days. Soon he commanded Phantom Brigades for Operation Fortitude, feeding Hitler dummy radio traffic. His ribbon bar eventually held the Legion of Merit, the Order of the Crown of Belgium, and America's Distinguished Service Cross, rare for a British officer. During the Guns of Navarone, designers festooned his tunic with gaudy Greek orders. Niven laughed. Had I worn half those baubles, the men would have shoved me off the cliff. He kept his British ribbons, small and threadbare, telling extras they reminded him of friends whose names would never grace credits. Between takes, he rewrote Noel Coward lyrics to lampoon Hitler because, he believed, laughter could ricochet like shrapnel. Lee Marvin, the Purple Heart rebel. Before growling through film noir, Marvin stormed Saipan with the 24th Marines. A sniper's bullet severed his sciatic nerve. A corpsman patched him beside his dead sergeant. An image he revisited whenever directors yelled action. His utilities bore a Purple Heart and Presidential Unit citation. On screen, he often played decorated sergeants. Costumers pinned bronze stars on him until he tore them off, growling, "Didn't earn that one." For the big red one, he demanded only authentic ribbons. Audiences never noticed the smaller rack, but Marvin slept better. Directors learned to roll cameras early. His eyes shifted when war stories surfaced. And those unguarded seconds became cinematic gold. Henry Fonda, the deck gun dramatist. While colleagues headlined rallies, Fonda tuned anti-aircraft sights on USS Satellite during D-Day. His Bronze Star praised calm under strafing. Back for Mr. Roberts, set decorators duplicated his modest rack, then slipped in a Philippine ribbon for color. Fonda discovered it during rehearsal, clipped it free, and used it as a bookmark. Many years later, that scrap traveled with him to Broadway, reminding castmates that comedy on a ship's deck was born of real peril below. Fiction may borrow courage, he mused, but it mustn't mint it. The line never made a script, yet every lighting tech remembered.
Kirk Douglas, the injury-forged sailor, born Isser Danielovich, Douglas served as a naval communications officer until a depth charge accident fractured vertebrae and punctured his eardrum. He left with a Purple Heart and lingering pain. In Paths of Glory, wardrobe draped him in ribbons he never earned, including a silver star. Douglas objected. Kubrick insisted. They compromised. Fake ribbons could stay if the Purple Heart sat highest. Years later, an underwater shoot aggravated his spine. Between takes, he stretched silently, refusing painkillers, determined that art would never outrank duty. Charlton Heston, the Cold War flyer. Heston rode B-25s over the Aleutian Gap, earning a Distinguished Flying Cross for nursing a wounded bomber through fog. Midway costumers mostly matched reality, but added a Navy Cross. Heston called it story spice, yet angled his genuine DFC slightly higher than the imposter. Decades later, he met his old crew chief, who still remembered that steady radio voice. They adjusted each other's ribbons and saluted without words. James Doohan, the miracle beach corporal. Before transporting anyone, Canadian James Doohan stormed Juno Beach, taking 6 bullets. One erased a finger he later hid from cameras. He later piloted an artillery plane through German fire, earning a Distinguished Flying Cross and perpetual gratitude for mechanics who patched bullet holes with coffee tins. His Starfleet tunic bore no medals, but in publicity stills, he pinned miniature Canadian awards inside the fabric, out of sight, yet over the heart. Convention fans never noticed he signed autographs with his left hand because war had stolen tendons from the right. Christopher Lee, the Sword and Shadow. Towering and multilingual, Lee served with RAF intelligence before joining Special Operations executive teams in Italy. Official files stay sealed, but crewmen recall sabotage missions whispered over monastery wine. His personal rack displayed the Italy Star and War Medal, humble cloth for rumors as grand as his later roles. Swashbucklers dressed him in jeweled sashes. Lee advised fewer trinkets, noting, "Real knights don't jingle." Before premieres, he polished the Italy star with clove oil, inhaling scents of field hospitals and incense, a prized liturgy for comrades left in mountain graves. A ribbon bar is a pocket autobiography. Valor rides the top row, service anchors the bottom. Foreign shades trail like exotic footnotes. Prop masters study regulation charts, yet cinematographers crave contrast. So costumes sometimes gain turquoise or scarlet, never sanctioned by Congress. Wartime studios invited army officers to snip fantasies from lapels. Today, veterans patrol common threads, outing errors before breakfast. The sure test is texture. Authentic ribbons carry creases, scorch marks, even blood flecks invisible to spotlights. Museum curators now use ultraviolet lamps. Fake dyes fluoresce, while vegetable tints stay mute. One genuine Medal of Honor ribbon once traded for a Malibu bungalow, yet veterans insist its fabric is priceless only when attached to a living heartbeat. Study the thread, respect the thread, or risk unraveling the story. Memory sewn in cloth will always outshine fresh dye. Visualize Stewart angling through black flack, Murphy tugging a ribbon he never ordered, Gable slamming a Browning while film reels spin, Niven reciting coward parodies to commandos, Marvin ripping a fraudulent star, Fonda folding counterfeit silk, Douglas massaging a damaged spine, Heston tilting a real DFC above plastic glory, Doohan hiding a missing finger inside salute, and Lee locking medals away from Dragonfire. Their collective decorations cover 80 campaigns, 4,000 flight hours, and wounds deeper than any camera focus. Each ribbon is a frame in a reel that never finishes developing, because memory keeps adding exposure. Medals are metal, yet meaning lives in the muscle that earned them. These performers carried battlefield gravity onto painted sets, making courage contagious. Next time a glittering chest strides across your screen, ask whether the shine is borrowed or paid in blood. If this inspection drilled your curiosity, enlist by tapping subscribe, ring the bell for fresh debriefs, and share which ribboned icon should report for duty in our next roll call. Remember, behind every costume medal stands a seamstress, a historian, and sometimes a survivor, ensuring each stitch lands true. This channel salutes that invisible platoon because storytelling, like soldiering, marches on shared respect. Stay brave, stay historically curious.